Greetings, sisters and brothers of the way. Woke up to about a foot of snow this morning, maybe a little more than that. It's a beautiful day in the Andes Mountains. So I thought I'd take this opportunity here to talk a little bit about the importance of self-sufficiency and living close to nature and getting out of the cities. I'm sure if the Essenes were alive today, they'd be encouraging everyone to get out of the cities. They've become cesspools for sin, temptation, and even more than that, they're artificial environments. You know, we're not meant to live surrounded by cement and metal and plastic. It's not good for you. It's not good energetically, mentally, psychologically, or physically. And it's good to have some solar panels. They're covered in snow right now, but they're still working. I need to go up there and clean them. Just in case, our power went out last night, but luckily we have solar panels, so we have batteries and lithium batteries, and we're good to go. It's good to have a little greenhouse or garden that you can grow some of your own food in. We grow about 30% of our own food here where we live, and you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. It's good to be proactive. It's good to be prepared. And I'm certainly not a prophet, far from it, so I'm not trying to predict anything, but you know, the world's a very uncertain place and seems to be getting more and more unpredictable. A lot of the leaders of the various nations of this planet are sociopaths and narcissists, megalomaniacs, and they can't be trusted. They're incredibly emotionally immature, spiritually immature, and intellectually deficient. So when the world is controlled by folks like that, it's good to be prepared for anything. So you don't have to be a doomsday prepper, but I would recommend getting out of the city and living closer to nature, which is what God intended. So that's one of the major tenets of this ministry, is living closer to nature. When you live close to nature, you live closer to God. The Essenes knew that. That's why they lived out in the middle of nowhere, outside of the population centers. This is our yurt here, where when we have retreats and whatnot, this is where we do all the activities. This is a spring-fed creek here, partially spring-fed, partially from snow melt. This is where we capture our water. It flows down into this tank here, and then we got tubes that go out to the various buildings, to the yurt here, to our house, and to the guest cabin. And that feeds all the water year-round, fresh, clean, living waters. You know, the Ebionites believed that the living waters, flowing streams of water, were imbued with pneuma, which means the Holy Spirit. So they literally believed that the living waters were divine and were imbued with God's presence, the Holy Spirit, and that when we drink this water, when we immerse ourselves in this water, we're literally communing with the Holy Spirit, and we're able to purify ourselves and enliven ourselves with that divine presence and that divine energy. Sometimes I hear folks say, oh, well, you know, I'd love to live like that, but I just don't have the money, you know, and I can't afford it. Well, neither could we. I come from very humble beginnings. You know, my ancestors and great-grandparents and everything were subsistence farmers and coal miners in rural Alabama, up in the hills. And my wife's from Chile, comes from very humble beginnings. So we worked our butts off, saved money, bought some land, and little by little built all the buildings and stuff that you see here. And it took a long time, but we never took out loans for anything. We waited till we had enough money saved, and then we built something or bought something. We're still doing that, and so we live debt-free, mortgage-free. And I don't pay a power bill, I don't pay a water bill. Like I said, I provide about 30% of our food and whatnot. And so you can really lower your cost of living by becoming self-sufficient, by living the homestead lifestyle that we have here. We've actually lowered our bills and are able to live debt-free, As a matter of fact, I was debt-free at the age of about 41, 42. I'm 46 now. And you can do the same, or even if you're already in your 40s or 50s, never say never. All things are possible with God. No excuses. You can do it. Here we've got a Starlink antenna. So we're always connected to the internet. Don't ever have to worry about power going out or wireless providers not working. I can't emphasize enough the importance of growing some of your own food. Especially nowadays, the food is so contaminated with chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, and everything else that cause cancer and all kinds of other diseases. So you just never know what's in your food unless you grow it yourself. If you grow it yourself, you always know exactly what you're eating. This is the guest cabin here, where folks stay when they come and visit us, or when they come for retreats and whatnot. It's got 2 bedrooms, full kitchen, 2 bathrooms, living room, dining room, and it sleeps seven people. And we've had volunteers come from the U.S., from Europe, from all over South America, of course, to come help out. And your room and board and lunch every day, vegetarian lunch every day, is free and included in exchange for 5 hours of work each day. So y'all are invited to come and spend a little time with us here in the mountains and learn a little more about self-sufficiency and how to live off the land and mountain life. So if you can get out of the city, get a little piece of land, grow some of your own food, put up some solar panels so you always have electricity, and get your own water supply, you'll be much happier. You'll have more peace of mind because no matter what's going on in the world, you'll have power, you'll have water, you'll have food, and you can survive and provide for your family. So self-sufficiency is important. The Essenes lived in small communities of like-minded souls, and they practiced communalism, communitarianism. They shared all of their wealth with one another. They didn't really have private property, as it were. And they lived off of nature. They grew a lot of their own food. They grew flax seed to make their linen garments, to make their clothing out of. And they practiced a bit of agriculture. And they had very simple lives, very simple lifestyles, very simple vegetarian diet. And many of them were told, in some of the historical documents, lived to be over 100 years old. And that, of course, was due to their vegetarian diet and their simple lifestyle and living outside of the population centers in remote, isolated environments close to nature, close to God, in other words. Okay? The more artificial your environment, the more artificial your life becomes. Your environment does affect you spiritually. Okay? So that's a very important concept to grasp and understand. Okay? You begin to adapt to whatever environment you're in. So if you're in an artificial environment, you become more and more artificial yourself. Okay? So it's very important to live close to nature and to be prepared for any situation that might come, to grow some of your own food, have your own power supply, and have your own water supply. And enjoy the peace and the stillness and the tranquility of nature, and to really connect with God's creation as we were meant to do. That's how we are meant to live. We're not meant to live in the cities. All right? the city is a pity. You know, the Most High created this beautiful environment, this beautiful planet for us to live on and to live off of. But when we live in the cities, we're rejecting God. It's an insult to our Creator that we go and live in these artificial concrete jungles full of toxins, contaminants, and toxic people. And so you're really insulting God. You're rejecting God by living in the city and not living close to nature, close to His creation that He provided for you, that He wants you to live in.